Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my first video highlighting why plants are rather bad at their job. Now you may be thinking, why Lynx? Those are some mighty bold statements for somebody's first video and for somebody who has a grand total of 1 subscriber, and you wouldn't be wrong in those assumptions. However, my claims are not without reason, as you will soon find out. In order to understand how plants are bad, we must first understand how they became bad, and to do this we must travel back in time, approximately 2,450 million years ago. Here we are then, 2,450 million years ago. Now, there's not much going on at this time, mostly due to the fact that the atmosphere is 97% carbon dioxide. Not that different from the atmosphere of modern day Venus or Mars. However, it's not all doom and gloom as far as the evolution of life is concerned, as the vast oceans that cover the planet have led to the evolution of simple, single-celled organisms known as prokaryotes, which are essentially like modern day bacteria, except a bit more simple in structure. Now, these guys are the only living creatures on the planet at the moment, kind of just swimming around in the ocean, minding their own business. However, after 3 million years of swimming around, doing a whole lot of nothing, some of these prokaryotes took the initiative and became the change they wanted to see in the world, and evolved the ability to turn carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight into energy, a process that we know as photosynthesis. The ability to create energy from practically nothing was a big hit in the single-celled world, and they soon massively multiplied in number. However, these boys are not the plant cells we know today. No, these guys don't even have nuclei yet. Instead, a little process known as endosymbiosis occurred. Now, this essentially means that non-photosynthesizing prokaryotes swimming around engulfed our photosynthesizing pals in an attempt to eat them. But when sod that, these lads are producing sugar from bloody nothing. I want some of that in my life. And then the photosynthesizing cells lived out the rest of their lives in the bodies of these larger cells, eventually becoming the chloroplasts that we know and love today. Now this led to the creation of the very first primitive plant cell, simply known as cyanobacteria. As time passed on, Mother Nature took the wheel and all kinds of stuff evolved, like invertebrates, fish, and eventually land plants, and from this point on the rest is history, with cool stuff like giant bugs, dinosaurs and big fuck-off elephants roaming around before leading up to good old human beings evolving. You may be wondering how any of this links into the fact that plants are bad at their job, and from our point of view, without plants we wouldn't have evolved, seeming as they produced the very oxygen that we breathe today, as a waste product of photosynthesis. But if you start to look deeper into the cell and look very closely at what let plants photosynthesize, you will see that not an awful lot has changed since these primitive cyanobacteria millions of years ago evolved, and specifically one molecule remains. Now, this molecule is one of the key reasons that plants are so bloody wank at their jobs today. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Rubisco. Rubisco, the molecule that destroys any plant stream of becoming somewhat competent at their only purpose in life, that being photosynthesis. In order to understand my deep-seated hatred for this enzyme, I must obviously explain what Rubisco is, and its purpose. Rubisco is a somewhat vital molecule within the process of photosynthesis, its sole purpose being to fix molecules of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into molecules such as energy-rich glucose. While this magical process of simply stealing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and turning it into useful molecules looks good on paper and by all means should be amazing, Rubisco manages to fuck it all up. The magic enzyme that makes this whole process possible has one critical flaw. Rubisco is very, very slow at its job. In order to understand how painfully slow Rubisco is, we must compare it to other enzymes. Some other enzymes can carry out thousands of chemical reactions per second. With these breakneck speeds, how does Rubisco compare? Not very well is the answer. Rubisco can fix a whopping 3 to 10 molecules of CO2 a second. That's right, you did not mishear me, dear viewer, 3 to 10 molecules a second. As it is plain to see, Rubisco is a bit shite at its job. However, dear viewers, it gets worse. To fully realise the retardation of Rubisco, we must again travel back in time to when plants first evolved. After our dear prokaryotes merged to create plant cells in the form of green algae, they started to grow a bit out of control. With the CO2-rich atmosphere and a whole lot of water, these plants started to churn out new cells, and, albeit inefficiently, they colonised the Earth's oceans. However, this had unforeseen consequences for our dear plants. A well-known product of photosynthesis is oxygen. So, as these plants photosynthesized and replicated, they churned out oxygen at alarming rates, causing the oxygen content in the atmosphere to skyrocket and the CO2 content to plummet. Now, this is great for us as animals, as we need oxygen to, well, live. However, this is not so good for plants. It turned out that the promised wonder molecule that is rubisco had some slight issues. With the increasing oxygen concentrations, rubisco came into more contact with this molecule, and due to the structural similarities between oxygen and carbon dioxide, started to fix oxygen instead of CO2, forcing the two to compete. Unfortunately for the plants, the fixation of oxygen is a complete waste of time, and actually consumes more energy than it produces. At this point, I think everybody is thinking, this rubisco molecule is a bit shit at its job. Time for Mother Nature to evolve something more effective. However, you would be wrong, and this enzyme has stuck around for millions of years, being as redundant as it was 2,450 million years ago. Well, there you have it, folks. Definitive evidence that plants are bad at their job. Obviously, the main culprit for this crippling inefficiency is rubisco. With its speed to rival a snail and its confusion between oxygen and carbon dioxide, I think it's fairly safe to say that rubisco is not doing anyone any favours. However, rubisco is not only to blame. Plants aren't helping themselves either, seeing as they only utilise 5.5% of the energy they absorb from the sun. Plants themselves are obviously just as shite as rubisco. However, dear viewer, do not finish watching this video and start going out on some murderous rampage, destroying every green being in sight. No. Instead, let this video inspire you. Go out, buy some plants, look after them because God knows they need it. At the end of the day, we need plants to breathe, we need plants to eat, and we need plants for our food to eat. Without the green buggers, the world would be looking a lot more bleak, so take some time and take care of some, and hopefully they'll take care of you. See you all next time, and thanks for watching.